There is a financial crisis here in the United States. Roughly 45 million Americans owe over $1.6 trillion in student debt. So back in March, to capitalize on this crisis, BuzzFeed released a video that included these two people who talked about their student loan experiences and what they were doing about their debt.
I think the way our student loans are given is super predatory on people who are young and don't understand, or people who think that their education is going to translate into a higher paying job.
As you'll see, Liza asked for a loan and the government gave it to her. Those predatory monsters. But this is clearly a problem. When people like Liza sign up for student loans, they might not understand the terms of the loan or what they're getting into.
I originally had about $75,000 in loans from that 1 year of grad school.
Now, let's see what considerations Liza made before committing to this huge sum of money.
In my mind, I was thinking, well, I'm gonna be a lawyer, I'm gonna make tons of money. I know it's gonna take me some time, but I'm gonna pay off these loans.
And that's good. When you choose your major, you need to weigh how much the school will cost against how much you will be earning in the workforce. It's called return on investment.
Straight out of school, the economy was horrible, and I was struggling and realized it just wasn't even what I wanted to do.
And that epiphany cost her $75,000 with interest.
It's now up to almost $150,000. Now I do something completely different where I don't earn a ton of money. I'm on income-based repayment, so I make really small payments. They call it negative amortization, where I'm now accruing interest on the interest.
Basically, this means that her payment is so small that it's less than the interest that she was charged for that month.
I really didn't understand the magnitude of what taking out that money would mean.
Clearly.
Particularly the terms of the loan, because a huge amount of it is something called Grad Plus. So some of the loans are federal subsidized, which means the interest is lower. And I believe, I'm not even sure, that it's simple interest, so I just pay the interest off the principal.
I'm not even sure.
You'd think that after 20 years that she'd have a clear understanding as to the terms of her loan, but whatever.
I'm paying interest on the interest, and I'm not even paying all of the interest in each payment.
This woman is never, ever going to pay that loan back.
Having all that debt from all those years of struggle is still a weight on me, even though I feel like now I've finally found my path.
Liza doesn't mention what that path is exactly, but I hear that being a part-time yoga instructor can be very fulfilling.
For undergrad, I took about $18,000 in total.
Jace doesn't mention where or what she was studying, but regardless, $18K for undergrad isn't unheard of.
As for grad school, oh gosh, I initially had a full ride the first year, and then the second year came, I talked to financial aid and they were like, surprise, you only had a full ride for your first semester.
Surprise! You've been pranked, bro. Either that or she just wasn't paying attention to the terms of her scholarship.
And so I ended up taking about $100K extra in student loans that should have never been taken out. As soon as we opened up my student loans, I was delinquent, and I think my first payment due was like $1,500, which I don't think I even made in a month.
So Jace took out $100,000 for grad school for a degree that clearly didn't have the potential for providing a return on investment.
There's not a lot of information that's given out. I know there's entrance and exiting counseling sessions, but it doesn't really tell you what to do.
Oh, it's the counselor's fault for not explaining that you need to make more in a month than the total of your monthly payment. Again, Jace doesn't say what she was attending grad school for, but clearly it wasn't for a master's in mathematics.
So now, within the span of about 4 or 5 years, it went from like $117K, and now it's $145K, I believe, the last time I checked.
Now you might be thinking, that's crazy. There must be some mistake. How did her debt grow so fast? Does she have some insane interest rate or something?
I figured out how to keep my loans in repayment.
Okay, that's a good start, because you don't want your debt to balloon completely out of control.
But I'm actually currently paying zero because I don't even make enough to be paying monthly rates. So it is nerve-wracking, but I'm hoping that within 10 years, I'll figure out how to get it all forgiven.
That's not a legitimate strategy. Counting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt to be forgiven is like counting on winning the lottery. The odds are against you.
I just really want to be financially stable because it's affected the quality of my life.
College is an investment in your future. And if you pick a frivolous major, your earning potential will be non-existent and you'll be hounded with debt for the rest of your life. But at least Jace learned her lesson. I mean, if she had the chance to do it all over again, she wouldn't have taken out those loans, right?
Honestly, if I knew that I would have to have all those loans under my belt, I would have gone and applied to the Ivy League school of my dreams. I would have applied to Harvard.
So instead of picking a different major or going to a different school, she would have gone to a more expensive school and taken out even more money in student loans. Unbelievable. But as it turns out, there's hope for people like Liza and Jace. And that hope is a bailout from the US Congress. In June 2019, Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswomen Pramila Jayapal and Ilhan Omar introduced the College for All Act.
This proposal will make it possible for every person in America to get all of the education they need, regardless of their financial status. Today, we are entering a proposal which will allow every person in this country to get all of the education that they need to live out their dreams because they are Americans.
So Bernie's plan is to make 2- and 4-year public colleges and universities tuition-free for everyone, but then goes on to say this.
The millennial generation was told that the only way they would get the good jobs available is if they received a college education. Unfortunately, that turned out to be bad advice. It was wrong.
According to Pew Research, in 2017, the median adjusted income of households headed by millennials was comparable to the previous generation. Millennials who went to college and got a degree are better off for it. Yes, some millennials faced adversity thanks to the Great Recession, but to say that their going to college was somehow detrimental in the long term is very dishonest. But like a typical radical Democrat, Bernie paints them as victims to sell his socialism. Great job, comrade. And while he says that telling millennials to go to college was bad advice, he's pushing for everyone to go to college so that they can live their dreams. So is going to college a mistake or not? It's very confusing, Bernie. The other aspect of the College for All Act would be to eliminate all outstanding student loan debt.
It cancels all of 1.6 trillion student loan debt. No exceptions, no questions asked, full cancellation.
And that includes not only federal student loans, but also billions of dollars in private student loans.
According to a recent study, canceling all student debt would add an estimated $1 trillion to our economy over the next decade and create up to 1.5 million jobs.
In other words, if you eliminate student debt, instead of loan recipients paying the government back, they will spend it on other things, like Apple AirPods, Starbucks, and Amazon Prime deliveries. It's a win-win. Well, unless you're Jace and Liza, who are so broke that they basically pay $0 a month towards paying off their student debt. So even if you eliminated that debt, they're still going to be too broke to contribute to the economy in a meaningful way.
Student debt is not the result of bad choices or behavior.
No, it's the result of bad choices and behavior.
You might ask, why full cancellation? What about the people who can pay off their student debt? Well, let me say this. The children of Donald Trump aren't asking or taking out student loans.
Translation? Don't worry, Democrat voters. Trump's family won't be getting a free ride like the rest of you.
Unfortunately, the cost of attaining a college degree has increased more than $1,000. So let's be clear about what this means. We are incentivizing our young people to not go and get a higher education. We are telling them to not go and get a trade or a vocational skill or a 4-year degree that will allow them to build a decent life.
While some people might think twice about taking on student debt burden, it's not stopping most people. Total student loan debt rose from $1.3 trillion in 2015 to $1.6 trillion in 2019.
Canceling student debt is a problem of the poor and the middle class, not of the rich. So rather than making exceptions, let's end this crisis entirely once and for all.
But it doesn't end it entirely once and for all, because if students want to attend a private college, they will likely take out loans to pay for it, and then this whole thing starts up again. And what about students and parents who paid off most or all of their student loan debt? They're basically getting penalized because they were able and fiscally responsible. Also, when you graduate college, you have more earning potential than people who didn't attend college. Why should a minority of Americans who went to college be subsidized by the majority of Americans who didn't go to school and will ultimately make less than the people they are subsidizing? The Democrats constantly preach about economic equity until it gets in the way of their agenda. So, to help sell the concept of canceling all student debt, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tells a story from her college years.
I was mentoring this girl, this young woman, her name was Andrea. She was about 3 or 4 years younger than me. But I was about 19 years old and she was in high school. And she had gotten into all of these prestigious universities, but she was given no student loan assistance. She felt that the decision of college was so important that she felt that she needed to consider taking on $250,000 worth of debt to go to college. And she's 17 years old, and here I am calling her from my dormitory, a 19-year-old consulting a 17-year-old about a $250,000 loan debt situation.
Okay, let's back up a second. AOC said that she was a 19-year-old mentoring a 17-year-old.
She was about 3 or 4 years younger than me. A 19-year-old consulting a 17-year-old.
She was about 3 or 4 years younger than me.
So according to AOC, a girl 2 years younger than her was about 3 or 4 years younger than her. Man, I would love to know what happened to the girl that AOC mentored.
I will be completely honest. I will disclose my personal stake in this fight because I have student loans too. And I think it's so funny. A year ago, I was waiting tables in a restaurant, and it was literally easier for me to become the youngest woman in American history elected to Congress than it is to pay off my student loan debt.
First of all, she's complaining that it was hard for her to make student loan payments because she was working in a restaurant, but that was 7 years after she graduated college with a bachelor's, so that's entirely on her. And maybe she couldn't get a real job because she can't count.
Well, unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs.
Now, you might be thinking that free college for all and debt forgiveness is one of Bernie Sanders' pie-in-the-sky policy plans that will never happen, right? Not so fast, gang.
I believe there has to be more debt forgiveness for college loans. I think there has to be more opportunity to go to college for free.
Currently, Joe Biden isn't going the full Bernie when it comes to eliminating all outstanding debt, only some of it. But to the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, Joe Biden's an empty vessel. It's just a matter of time. Anyway, thanks for watching, sharing, and hitting that like button. Be sure to check out my new limited edition Asteroid 2020 merchandise in my Teespring store and show your support for the best presidential candidate of 2020. A special thanks to Poofy for all of her help this week with the script, and you can follow her on Twitter and Parler at Saint Tsundere, and follow me on both platforms too at Don't Walk Run. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, and as always, I hope to see you next time.